Welcome back to the 19th hole, everybody. Jake here, as always, joined by a new face this year, but not a new face if you have been here before. Keith Flemming is joining the program. Keith, how are we doing this week?
Man, doing very well. Pumped for my guy, Gary Woodland. I have a good friend that's battling brain cancer, and he's had several tumors removed in the last 5 years. And so he obviously is a huge Gary Woodland fan for just, having somebody that's sort of been through what he's been through. So he was jacked on Sunday. That got me jacked, and just Gary Woodland seems like a great guy. So very happy for him. And it was also a good week for me in DFS, which that's always good too.
Exactly. You love to see it. We love the stories going around. Stories make me feel like family, right? And so I might as well share with the people the IBT Golf family. The IBT Golf family is our free-to-join way to gain access to chats with other listeners, our analysts, as well as free entry into our memorabilia giveaways and our one-and-done contest. For just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, you also gain full access to our weekly betting model, as well as my weekly betting card and any of the other analysts that we have on staff here. Any of our betting cards that are posted in the Discord, you will have full access to all of those. With access to that as well, you don't only get the IBT Golf family, but you get access to the football family, racing family, and entertainment family to give you a one-stop shop for all of your sports and entertainment betting needs. The link for that is in dashbetweenmedia.com/chat, and it is also in the episode description below. And while you're checking out that description below, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We now have our own channel over here at the 19th hole, so make sure you subscribe to that channel along with the IBT Media channel to make sure you do not miss any of the content. We've got our Masters preview up already. We'll be live doing a show next week as well for the Masters, as well as all of the short form content that we are pumping out over there as well. So don't make sure you don't miss anything. And since we brought up the one and done contest, I might as well run us through the leaderboard here. My brother is officially running away with this tournament, sitting at a cool 4.99 million. It's his birthday today as we record. So I texted him and said, haha, you're not at 5 million. So that's all I've got going for me. Royal Slade sitting in second at 3.4 million. Timbo at 2.1. Our other analyst over here, Mike, sitting at 1.9. Go for JD sitting at 1.7. Myself at 1.6. Trash Sandwiches, the producer over here at the 19th hole, sitting at 1.4. Tony sitting at 1.1. Jed at 0.53, and Seth and everybody else is lagging behind. Catch up while you can, folks. But you brought up Gary Woodland. We're going to talk about that right now. So let's head on over to the news and talk about the last week of golf. While I did not include it in the news today, it is rather fitting that we do have Tiger Woods getting arrested in that drop that we have, given that has occurred yet again. Unfortunately, we wish Tiger the best over here. If there is any issues going on in his life, we hope that they get resolved, and hope that he at least hires himself a driving service to make things easier for him over there. But to get off the bad news and get over to the feel-good story, as we talked about, Gary Woodland, score one for the good guys, man.
Love that, man.
For those who aren't familiar with Gary Woodland's story, he, as Keith alluded to earlier, a few years ago, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, had the tumors removed, and has been dealing with the recovery.
He was fortunate. His was not cancer, but still very dangerous, obviously, when you're removing even a benign tumor on your freaking, brain. So
So, but ever since then, he's recently announced that he's been struggling with PTSD, and he's been dealing with kind of the hidden harm of having a surgery like that. When your mortality comes into question in that way, it creates stressors that you didn't know you had before. He finally talked about it. I don't think it's a coincidence that he talked about it, and not that long after gets his first PGA Tour win in quite some time. I believe since 2023 was his last win.
I believe, right? The U.S. Open was his last win. So
yeah, so just gets back in the winner's circle. It's awesome to see. It's a great story. It's been covered everywhere, as it should. Mental health is nothing to joke about. I've dealt with my own mental health struggles in my life. So this one is near and dear to me. I've quite a few friends even through various means who suffer with PTSD as well. And I know how tough that can be, just because you never know what's going to trigger an episode, trigger something to come up. So it's always super great to have him get back into the winner's circle. He truly is one of the good guys. I've never seen anybody really have anything bad to say about Gary
except
Woodland.
for Pro Golfer, who decided that it was a good time to go, yeah, it was a great story, but let's not forget it was a weak field. He beat the likes of and I'm just like, dude, like, what? Like, how must you feel to wake up and go, you know what, this great story here, let me just poo-poo on this a little bit. I don't get people like that. I don't.
A weak field that had the only guy who's won twice on tour this year.
Thank you.
Woodland was 78th ranked, had 78th highest official world golf ranking in the field. And it's not like he's a nobody who, nobody was sitting at 70 or at 139th in the world to start the event. Like, we're talking about a former major winner here who's been in the news for brain surgery, was on full swing dealing with, the repercussions and recovery from that, has just talked about his PTSD diagnosis. Let's just let good stories be good stories, in my opinion.
I normally do not engage with him because he is a sycophant, I guess what we'll call it. And what bothers me about it more than anything is then he acts like he's not. And it's like, dude, just go look at your content.
He has the major tracker for live players as his pinned tweet.
Exactly. And I mean, it's just like, again, it's just rude. I mean, and really just a crappy thing to do to say something like that. There's just no need for it.
Right.
And then I love how he's like, I said I'm happy for him. And it's like, okay, bro, you should sit this out.
The argument he made in my quote tweet of it was about the media, like it somehow connected to Jim Nance and media coverage, which just makes no sense.
It's always the media with him and, not covering live and overdoing PGA. But to me, what really is remarkable about Woodland is just, I don't think enough is being made about how far he is hitting the freaking golf ball. Leads the tour and, ball speed, driver distance. Like, think that peak Bryson distance when he kind of beefed up, what was that, like 2-3 years ago? Yep. And then he actually had to scale it back because he realized he just couldn't keep it on the planet. Gary Woodland is hitting it further and faster on an average driver swing than that version of Bryson, which is just remarkable. And again, remember, this guy is a really good athlete, great basketball player. They say he can still basically dunk standing still. I can do that, but it'd be on a 6-foot goal. He can still do that 10-foot goal. So good for him. And, again, he's a major champion winner, and having seen somebody, that's a good friend, having gone through this,
right?
It's just so tough. I mean, Ryan has talked about many times on his podcast that the physical, like, where obviously it was awful, and he's, still recovering. But he said more than anything, and it's what Woodland opened up about, and he's talked about that as well, is just mentally it messes with you, right? Like, he said anytime he forgets something, he immediately is thinking, like, is this due to the work that I had on my brain? And he said it's just, you're in your mind even more. So for him to overcome all that, I'm so happy for him. And it would not shock me if he wins again this season, because he's got a lot of things going for him, including like distance is a weapon, especially when you hit it as straight as he does for somebody who's long. And that like stinger driver that he's been hitting is freaking scary. Like, I don't know how those dudes do that. It was just like Fleetwood in the TGL the other night where he hit a driver
at 2-degree launch. Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, how do you do that? These guys are really good.
I can do that. It's normally when I top it. But yeah, I mean, and distance certainly helped him, right? But like he only gained 0.67 true strokes gained off the tee. Like his irons were phenomenal. He was lights out with the putter. If my math is right, gained over 8 strokes with the putter throughout the event. So just an all around great win for him. And again, just super happy for him to get into the winner's circle.
Field. It wasn't even close. Like that was my favorite part, was he got to really enjoy I think that final round, and Minwoo Lee and I forget who was the other person in his final group, but like just hats off to them, giving him that moment coming up the 18th, and just, allowing the fans to, give him some love, which he definitely deserved and earned.
Absolutely. We're going to continue with the feel good stories over here. Like brother, they normally say like father, like son, but in this case, it's like brother, like brother. Alex Fitzpatrick joins his brother, Matt Fitzpatrick, as DP World Tour winners. My favorite part of the whole thing was, I don't know if you saw it, but Matt's tweet was essentially word for word what Alex tweeted when Matt won his major.
That's cool.
It was like word for word the same, just changed major champion to DP World, like European. I think it was European champion. And it's awesome to see. This is another relationship. This episode is kind of turning into a full swing coverage episode. They talked about the relationship between Alex and Matt on Full Swing, them getting to play together when they do some of the match play events. But really over the last few years, it's clear that Alex's game has developed or grown to a new level, much as we've seen from Matt as well. We've talked about Matt on length on this show this year about how he's reinvented himself off the tee. He's hitting his irons better than ever. He's putting well. We're seeing the same
better. Let's not say well, but he's putting better.
Yes, fair. But I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same out of Alex. Like Alex on the in 2026 season on the DP World Tour, he's got 7 top 20 finishes, including the win this past week. And it was a good event for him the week prior at the Joburg Open, where he was T6. Winning this championship. Obviously, they've talked about it. It's hard to be chasing the accomplishments of somebody else. He's like, when it's your brother, it makes it a little bit easier. It's truly become a family affair for these two. And, if Alex keeps up the play that the level of play he's currently on, we'll be seeing Alex on the PGA Tour next year with Matt.
Yeah, it's cool that you said that, when it's your brother, it's a little easier, because I would think that it's not. But when I went to the Senior Bowl, I guess this was 2 years ago, I interviewed Luke McCaffrey and was just asking him, like, how do you deal with your dad being, an all-pro, like great wide receiver? Obviously, your brother is, arguably the best, running back in the league. And he said it's actually not pressure, and that he feels so fortunate that he has the keys to the kingdom, right? Because he not only has his dad, but also his brother showing him the blueprint, how to get where you need to go. And, whether it be the training or, the mindset, all that.
Right.
And I never thought of it that way, but it is true. Don't get me wrong. I think that changes.
For sure.
Like I feel bad for like Charlie Woods, Michael Jordan's kids. Like if you play the sport, exactly. Like if you're, dad, brother, whatever is, and no, this is not disrespect to Matt Fitzpatrick, but I'm just saying like an icon at that point. I just think that it would be, just so much on your shoulders, but this is awesome for him. And, cause he struggled, when he first got on tour, and like, I know some, again, haters were taking shots at him playing every year in the 2-man event on the PGA Tour with Matt Fitzpatrick. Like, what's this guy doing here? He wouldn't be in the field otherwise. And to see all the hard work pay off for him is really great. And that's a tough venue. Like, that is a tough venue and a really good tournament on the DP World Tour. So to win the way he did, playing great golf on Sunday, like, good for him, man.
Yeah, I mean, we know the level of talent on the DP World Tour. Sure, it's not quite at the level of the PGA Tour, but I mean, we're talking about an event where 12 people finished under par. Like, this is a hard golf course.
Ashley Biate shot 79 day one. Okay.
Yeah.
So that course is tough.
Yeah. And, you know, to rip off a 9 under win for Alex, definitely awesome to see. And, you know, we're covering all the tours pretty much here as well. Cause the next up, you know, people are setting records. There's TV shows named after people with their first name is this person's last name. So I had to find a way to get the reference in there, but Kim made it possible. I'm going to butcher this name. Q Lee Kim, I believe. I'm probably wrong. Q-Min
You're
Kim?
asking the country bumpkin, so the wrong person to tell you how to pronounce people's names. I think you did a wonderful job trying.
We will take it. We're gonna, you know, at minimum, we're gonna go the same route as a player we're actually gonna talk about later on in the show, and we're just gonna go with the initials. H.J. Kim set the 54-hole scoring record on the LPGA Tour. Beat Nelly at this tournament in back-to-back seasons. 28 under final score out of Hyoju Kim. There we go. Got it. But I mean, 28 under par. I don't care where you're playing. I don't care what event you're playing.
You could be playing putt-putt. If you're 28 under par for 4 rounds, that's getting it. Yeah,
you are absolutely killing it. And, you know, this is like I said, this is a previous winner on the LPGA Tour. So it's not like it's a no-name, but, you know, unfortunately, with the way that women's professional sports go, it truly does not get the same level of coverage as the men's tour in any way. This is a 9-time winner on the LPGA Tour, 3-time winner on the Ladies European Tour, 15 times has won, or 16 times, sorry, has won on other professional tours, has won the Evian Championship, which is an LPGA major, won that in 2014 at the ripe young age of 19. So pretty impressive. You know, she's just slightly younger than me, has a much more impressive golf career than I will ever have by a
better
country.
golf swing too.
Just better everything. But yeah, it's, you know, especially when anytime you can set a scoring record, right? Like, we talk about some of these scoring records, like, some things are truly very hard to break. I mean, even when she was 19, you know, she's no record or she's no stranger to breaking records. When she was 19 at the Evian Championship, set the LPGA Tour record for the lowest 18-hole score in a major with a 61 in the first round of that event. Like this, she is no stranger to going low in professional golf tournaments. And, you know, again, it's just awesome to see whenever anything happens here. When you set a record, it deserves to be talked about. So I felt like I had to include this here. She had 7 consecutive one-putt greens at one point. Would have set the overall scoring record in LPGA history if it weren't for, you know, an untimely bogey or two on the back 9.
She made a double on the 8th too.
Yep.
I mean, that's how good she was playing.
Yeah. Imagine double bogeying. Your final round is only 3 under. Only. And
that's
your
like
final score
Scheffler at the Masters. I think it's one of the all-time epic wins. He 4-putted, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I got a little nervous for him, but just because somebody was like, well, that's embarrassing. I'm like, how cool is it to be able to say years from now, yeah, you know, I came to the 18th, casual 4-putt, still won.
Yeah. I saw a tweet that was like that. It was I think it was an open event. It was a smaller tour for sure. Ryan Monday of Monday Q, Monday Q Info on Twitter shared it, and it was like a joke tweet, and it was like, how'd you play? I had a really bad bogey on 16. Runner up finish. No, I won by 9. Like, that's the kind of just throwing it on the table, just truly dominating the field. I mean, 2 separate 61s in a golf tournament.
That's what I was going to say.
To go 61, 69, 61, 69, win by 2 strokes over Nelly Korda, the number 1 name in women's professional golf.
Back-to-back weeks, by the way, with Korda on her, tails both weeks. Really, really impressive stuff. And I say this all the time. If you're a golf fan, you should be watching the ladies play. And the reason is, or excuse me, not a golf fan, if you're a golfer, because you cannot do what the guys do. Like you cannot get that kind of club head speed. You can't like that. They just, it's freakish. The ladies, on the other hand, some of the best pure golf swings
100%.
You'll ever see. And that is something that you can actually try to replicate. Like you can get the same speed that they can and stuff. And I've always said, like, if you want to learn, instead of watching Tiger Woods or Adam Scott videos, go watch, Nelly Korda, or, go back and watch Annika Sorenstam. Like, those are some of the best swings out there. And it's something that, most amateur golfers, if they practice, can somewhat replicate, where you're not going to replicate what Dustin Johnson does at the top, of his golf swing. It's impossible.
Yeah. Like I am the longest driver of the golf ball that I know. I am the best driver of the golf ball that I know. My average ball speed, or like my top end ball speed, is like PGA Tour average. I can carry it 300 yards, but my game would probably be better if I just cruised at 160 like the LPGA tour players do, and just hit the fairway every time.
I can carry it 300 with a driver and just a little flip lob wedge. It's easy, man. Yeah. No, I don't have that kind of distance, but yeah, man, you drive for show, putt for dough. That is definitely where the game's at. And I've been getting into the women's tour for the last few months because, again, Korda's playing great, and there's some really good young ladies that are coming. I mean, Lydia Ko, had a chance to shoot 59. Like there's just so many playing great golf, and I really do love the ladies, or what are they calling it? It's the Masters, the women's, because it's an amateur event. But I am so psyched about watching that again, as it's right around the corner.
Yep, that is the Augusta National Women's Amateur.
Thank you.
Yep. But yeah, it's the winner of that event last year. We covered her on this show as well. And it's just, there's so much up and coming talent in all of exactly. Lottie Woad. What? Yeah. I said it right.
Go Knowles.
Yeah. There's so much up and coming talent in the professional golf space from all aspects, whether it's women's, men's, with the rise of YouTube golf, we're getting more of the more popular of the accessible players, the accessible professional players. So players who have some form of disability and still getting out there, still just doing incredible things on the golf course. There's never been a better time to get into golf and start watching golf, in my opinion. You can just get any sort of golf fill that you possibly could need. And it just is a great, great time to be a golf fan. And speaking of being a golf fan, we know why you're here. It's in the title. It's in the thumbnail. You're here to talk about the Valero Texas Open. So we are going to do that. So let's head on over to the Caddie Notes. All right, with the Valero Texas Open, we are heading on over to TPC San Antonio, a very flat but very interesting golf course.
The worst venue on tour. Don't you think of the annual events? I think it's just like the most boring venue. I really do. And I'm not trying to hate on it because it's a great golf course and the condition and everything, but it's definitely not my favorite venue that they come to every year.
Yeah, it certainly lacks some of the signature features. It certainly lacks, some of the, lacks the prestige. It's a Greg Norman design. It's only going to be so interesting. It's nothing crazy, but let's tell the people, what they can kind of expect out of this tournament. So, Keith, what do you have as kind of an overview of TPC San Antonio?
Well, I always start with who won there last year, and that is a good way to kind of see what kind of players are going to, fit the model. And it was Brian Harman.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes so much sense because this is a golf course that, yes, it is long. I think it's like the 10th longest venue on tour.
19th.
Oh, is it 19th?
19th now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had that wrong then.
But I believe last year it did play longer, but so many courses have expanded their length.
I mean, it's 7,400 yards, so it would play a mile for me, obviously. It's a course that, despite, again, because we're coming up to Augusta, just like what we saw last week,
Yep.
No real rough, right? They're going to want to have everything mowed down around the greens, getting guys used to, again, the, sort of Augusta as close as you can. Course conditions. You got to be accurate off the tee. This is a course that, man, you hit it into the, rough. It's not the rough you got to deal with, it's the trees. There's obviously trees everywhere. So it is something that I looked at this week was just total driving, good, drives game, whatever you want to call it. It's another course that just, feels like this is what we say all the time now, but this is kind of a ball striker's paradise. You should get extremely firm conditions this week. It has been unusually both hot and dry in Texas. If the wind really picks up, I think things could play very, very difficult. But this is a second shot golf course, especially if you can, again, find the fairways. But again, if you are just a little bit off, so many approaches that are actually pretty good are going to run off with those closely mown areas around the green. Toughest par fives on tour, 588 yards in length. You could say players who excel at par fives have a significant advantage, or with the difficulty of par fives, you could say that it's actually the par four, the guys that do very well on them that have the big advantage. This is definitely a venue that past success has been a good indicator. I think it's like the 5th or 6th most predictive course on tour. And I ultimately looked for guys that drive the ball straight, players that are very good around the greens, whether that be scrambling, or, avoiding bogeys. Obviously, I looked at bogey avoidance. Strokes gain approach was as always, but you don't have to. This is not one of those courses where, again, with the firm conditions, I don't expect a lot of long approaches, which we've seen the last couple of weeks. So it's really more about kind of that mid short iron game. And again, Brian Harman won this event last year, and Brian Harman excels on golf courses exactly like what we just described, right? You got to keep it in the fairway. You got to take advantage of birdies when you can. But more importantly, you're going to have to be able to get it up and down to avoid bogeys, because there's going to be a lot of shots that you think are good, and you end up, whether they want to putt it, whether they want to bump it, whether they want to pitch it up in the air, having these runoff areas chipping back up the hill.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. It plays very interesting, right? And we've seen it. The last 2 years, the rough has been like 2.25 inches. Early reports so far are saying that they have grown the rough out some. It's going to be playing 3 inches.
I like that.
So 4th narrowest average fairway width on tour. About average green size with the green surface. It's Poa Trivialis, but it's slow comparatively. It's the stimp readings early this week are about a 12. So it's playing as like a Poa bent grass blend, essentially. It is the 3rd highest course in terms of elevation, only 1,100 feet above.
Would not have known that in Texas. That's wild.
It's like the only place in Texas that is elevated. It seems like 64 bunkers throughout the course. Water really only in play on a handful of holes. Like you said, the defense of this course is the parkland nature of this course being tree lined. You get some of the, natural grasses, natural rocky terrain as well, which act as a little bit of a defense. And, much like you said, the last few years, this is played as very much like a be accurate course. We've seen this course in the past be a bomb and gouge fest. It has played very differently. And part of that is the weather. Part of it is being that they're the fourth narrowest fairways. You're probably not going to hit them anyway, so you might as well be closer. That's the logic that we've seen a lot of players take here. But, it sounds like we kind of focused pretty similarly on the stats there. I did include good drives gained in my model this week, as well as distance from the edge of fairway. So even those players who may miss the fairway, you have guys like Russell Henley, who leads the field in that category. He's not missing it by a ton. Strokes gained approach. We are going to see about 25% of approach shots come from 125 yards and in. Much larger, as you mentioned, than we've seen recently, with the green size being fairly, comparatively large to some of the events out there. Seeing a good amount of putts fall in that 15 to 25 foot range. Scrambling, as you mentioned, going to be super important. And then, as always, birdies are better gained, bogey avoidance, strokes gained putting on the surface that we're looking at, really kind of the keys of what we're looking for here. And, you can look at the past winners here and you can see, looking at the last 5 winners, how much this course has changed. You have guys like Jordan Spieth, who won here in 2021. Compare that to Brian Harman, who won here in 2025. Akshay was the winner here in 2024. JJ Spawn in 2022. Like, we're talking about guys who play very different styles of golf. And that is one of the things I do appreciate about TPC San Antonio, is every once in a while, I like an event where guys can just go play their game. They don't necessarily, it's not like a dog leg fest where you're forced to hit cuts or hit draws around the trees or over the, it's very much just a hit your ball, find your ball, hit it again course, put it in the hole. If you could do that here, you can be successful. If it plays like it has the last couple of years, certainly gives a benefit to guys like Brian Harman, to JJ Spawn. Or if it's playing windy, firm, and long, and the rough really isn't that bad, who knows? You could be Jordan Spieth in 2021 and be kind of hitting it all over the place and get hot with the wedges and the putter for a week and have yourself a great week. It can be a little bit of a hodgepodge of an event. So now that we've given a little bit of a breakdown here, we're going to head on over and talk about our plays for the week. However, before I do that, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, WannaParlay. WannaParlay creates fun and exciting competition that connects people. It embodies the joy of winning, the pain of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you'll feel during competition. From the brains of 2 former Kansas State college football players, it's all about stacking legs, competing with real sports lovers like you and I, and getting real cash wins every single day. You can 1,000 extra money and cash out fast. If you are ready to get in the game and flex those parlay legs, download the app for iOS and Android and get a 100% match bonus up to $250 when you use code IBT at sign up. That's right. That's code IBT at sign up, which is we also have a link to that in the episode description below. But with that said, let's get these clubs twirling and talk about our plays for the week. So starting off, we always like to cover the books, just kind of our general impression of them. And it's interesting, to say the least.
It's gross, is what you're saying? Like, I hate what has happened to golf betting. And again, this is no disrespect to any of the golfers in the field, but there is no way this many guys should be under 30-1 to win any PGA Tour event. It just, to me, it's insane. Like, if a guy has won like one event in his career, how the hell is he going to have 20-1 odds to win a golf tournament? Like, let us have some fun, man. Like, what are you doing, books? You're killing me.
Yeah, you're killing us all. Yeah, 12 guys that are under 30-1 this week. A very tight board at the top. Depending on the book that you're looking at, either Tommy Fleetwood or Ludwig Aubert is going to be your favorite in the field. It's tending to be. It actually is perfectly split at the 5 books that I'm looking at here. Ludwig is the favorite in 2. Tommy's the favorite in 2, and they share favorite status with Russell Henley, the 3rd book over there. So certainly a tight field at the top. And when I ran my model for DFS purposes as well, including the DFS salary in there, 10 of the top 12 players in my model were in the top 12 of salary in the DFS world. So, it's not just the outright market. It's not just the placement market. It's on the DFS side as well. It's a very clustered grouping at the top. There's values to be had. There's definitely some guys who are better bets on certain books than others. We'll get to a couple of guys like that. I'll bring a couple up as we go through here, but starting at the favorites here, I'm going with Collin Morikawa, currently going off the board at 20-1, pretty much across the board, unless you're using like Bet365 or Caesars. But DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM all have Collin at 20-1. And this feels like Collin should be the favorite. I get he was injured a few weeks ago. We haven't seen him, since the injury, but we're talking about a guy who won an event, then came in 7th, then came in 5th. Is one of the best golfers on the planet. And if you remember what we talked about, right, for kind of what we're looking for here, accurate players off the tee who hit their irons really, really strong. And I mean, that's Collin, even when he misses the fairway, 4th in distance from edge of fairway, 3rd in the field in strokes gained approach, 13th in bogey avoidance, 2nd in birdie or better percentage, 4th on approach from 100 to 150 yards, 12th in good drive percentage, 3rd in strokes gained total in the field this year. We're talking about one of the best players on the planet, and you don't have to pay best player on the planet prices for him. This is normally, we've joked about for a couple of years now that Collin was just like an auto bet anytime he approached like 50-1.
We used to have a thing saying literally if he was more than 30-1, especially like the majors and stuff, because he's a guy that, to your point, unlike a lot of these other guys talking about, he wins.
Yep. He definitely went through that stretch of not winning, and we saw the odds get into our favor. If you're like me, you were able to take advantage of that when he finally did win, because we were just auto betting him every week when he was sitting at 50 to 60-1. But even at 20-1, especially looking at the top of the board here, like if I'm picking somebody in this tier of players, Morikawa stands out as the best value of the higher tier that we're looking at, in my opinion. Do you feel the same about Collin, or are you a little more biased towards one player or another?
I mean, look, you made a great case, and for anybody that's backing him this week, you can do so knowing that I am not, which means he'll play well, because he has become the ultimate. When I play him, he doesn't do well. When I don't, he does. Case in point, had him, and I think it was like 90% of my DFS lineups for the players. And between Ryan Fox withdrawing due to kidney stones and his, swing on the 11th tee box, my DFS week was over by 9 a.m. on Thursday, which that's not a lot of fun.
You and me both.
I do, though. He makes so much sense here. I do like Russell Henley better, though, to be honest. This is a Russell Bustle course. I mean, he is, again, very similar game to Brian Harman, except he's actually a way better iron player. So he's got all the good things that Brian Harman can do, plus an elite iron game, especially like with his wedges. He's so good. Didn't play in this event last year, but did finish 4th the year before. I mean, you're talking about a dude who's top 10 in driver accuracy, top 10 in scrambling, top 10 in birdie average, like just across the board.
Yep.
Russell does everything really well. And this venue has played relatively tough most years. And I always say, and that's why I love Russell in majors, same reason, the harder a course plays and the less deep the winning score gets, the more chance there is that Russell Henley is going to be in serious contention on Sunday because he just doesn't really shoot bad scores.
Yep.
And I think that he has talked about he really wants to get a major win. He is getting to that point in his career where it needs to happen soon, especially for somebody that doesn't hit it, particularly long off the tee.
Right.
And I think that it would be big for him. I know that supposedly you can't win going into Augusta. That'll be the case until somebody does win and goes into Augusta and wins. But Russell has played very well at Augusta recently, obviously being a UGA guy. And I love Henley this week. He is the biggest anchor in my DK cash game lineups as well. Like 9,800, sign me up because I just pretty much feel darn near certain he's going to top 10, which, not for nothing. You can get him for 3-1 to top 5 most places, which I like that almost as much as betting him 20-1 to win.
Yeah, he's certainly a ladder play for me where I'm going to be up and down the placement boards with him. He is the number one player in my model this week. As you mentioned, first in distance from edge of fairway, 17th in strokes gained approach over the last 24, leading or tied for the lead in bogey avoidance and birdies or better, top 5 in scrambling. You get short irons or full wedges into this man's hand and good things can happen. It really is very much a Russell week. So, zero issue starting the card there as well. It might be a split play with me, throwing, kind of splitting units between Russell and Collin at the top of the board, just because of how this board shakes out. But you have another guy who's not too far down the odds board who you are a fan of. I've seen a lot of hype for him this week. My model doesn't love him, but you made some great points pre-show and what you're kind of looking for here. So tell us a little bit about Michael Thorbjornsen at 30-1.
This is more than anything about the fact that he needs to win to get into Augusta. I think this dude is the real deal. I think he is a uber talented guy, and he has really started to show that. I know that Sunday did not work out the way he needed it to, but I think he was going for broke. Unfortunately, when the day started, they thought he needed a top 5 to end up securing, being in the top 50 and getting into Augusta. And I just think he kind of went for broke, and it, obviously went the wrong way. And I felt really bad for him because it ended up being a situation where he didn't have to. I think they said if he finished I think just in the top 10, he would have actually ended up getting into it. But he is somebody that just has a world of talent. I'm interested to see what he hits off the tee this week because he has so much length. I mean, he could hit iron, fairway wood on all these holes and be absolutely great. But I mean, he also could just overpower this golf course. This is the guy that's first on tour in total driving. I mean, it's rare to see somebody be 20th in driving distance, 25th in driving accuracy. He hits a ton of greens in reg. He's 47th in green and regulation. But what I really love, you talked about the 64 bunkers, 25th in sand save percentage. Scrambling, again, I've talked about so big this week. He's top 20 in that as well. And I think this is the kind of venue that it's weird. You would think that he would dominate par 5s. He does not.
He does not.
His strength is actually par 4s, which we kind of alluded to that right when we were doing the description. That can actually be where you kind of make your hay. So I think that's a good thing. And then the big thing and reason why I just had no hesitation, clicking him this week, the top 25 in bogey avoidance. Again, you would think somebody, with his gears and stuff would, make a mess of things. That's not the case. He's a very, very steady golfer. And I believe in the talent. He knows the situation. He talked about it after his round Sunday. He wants to play in the Masters this year. Sure, it's going to happen for him soon, but he wants to be in there this year. And I just believe there's a chance that he can do it. And talent-wise, I think he's definitely top 5, top 10 in this event. And you're getting him at 30-1 when it's like what you said, there was, 12 guys, in the, less than odds in that. So I think it's not a bad value.
Yeah, you're kind of talking me into it. Really, kind of what's holding him back in my model. He is very accurate with the driver. However, when he misses, they're big. He is 108th in the field in distance from the edge of the fairway. His 125, 150 and in game isn't phenomenal. But as you mentioned, this is very much a mixed off the tee club course. You are going to see a lot of not driver off the tee. And just given that, when these guys are as on top of their stats as we are pulling them up. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if half these dudes have subscriptions to the rabbit hole over BetSperts like we do to pull these stats themselves. And he knows, hey, I can hit my 3-wood far enough to put myself at a comfortable 7-iron onto greens.
Or to your point, he's even better, right? From actually like 150 back than really he is within. So it's even more advantage for him to kind of lay back off the tee.
Exactly. And, keeping it in the fairway, he is, like you said, one of the more talented, more physically gifted players in the field. So it certainly does make sense. As we continue on down the board here, a guy that you and I are both in on this week, which is interesting for me to be on Sepp Straka. I have like a rule that if the course is over like 7,200 yards, I just don't look at Sepp. I kind of view him as a bit of a short course merchant. However, as you mentioned, it's playing firm down there in Texas right now. I mean, we saw it at just last week in Houston. Those fairways were like concrete. Like it was, balls were going everywhere.
It's so hard in Georgia right now that like I'm actually driving the ball like 280, 290 and it's 50, 60 yards a roll.
Yeah, they're playing crazy. I saw a crazy stat. I think it was on over the weekend. It was like 80% of drivers hit off the tee. Total distance ended up over 300 yards. Like regardless of who was hitting the ball. So the course playing naturally a little bit farther like that certainly helps a guy like Sepp, who isn't the longest hitter in the world, but accurate. Accurate is what Sepp Straka does. He is 18th in the field, distance from edge of fairway, 5th over the last 24 rounds in strokes gained approach. He's actually top 12 in the field in birdie or better percentage, still in the top half of the field in bogey avoidance, 6th best putter on this surface, from 100 and in, top 20 player, putting from 15 to 20 feet, top 20 player. The number 1 player over the last 24 rounds, putting from 20 to 25 feet, which we will see a good contingent of in this event, and then 10th in good drives gained over this last 24 rounds as well. So his game is certainly coming right into form for this type of event. Yeah.
I mean, again, kind of the, stuff that I was looking at this week. Plays par 5 well, check, top 15 on tour. The iron game, it's absurd. Like if you get a chance, go to PGA Tour because they got a bunch of free stats you can look at. Go look at all of his different 25-yard numbers, like 100, 125, 125, 150. They're just pretty much all elite, like top 20, top 30 in the world. I did not know that about his putting, like especially on this surface. That was the only hesitation I have in him this week is some weeks Straka can really struggle with the flat stick, but hearing that he's been rolling it well and he loves this surface, I think him at 9,200 is a great anchor too for your DraftKings lineups. He's somebody that you can throw in there. Then if you want to put Fleetwood, if you want to get up in the really expensive guys, you can, but you don't have to go dumpster diving, which this is a week kind of like last week. I would avoid it if at all possible. Like there's very few guys under 7K that I like this week for cash lineups, which is what, I did.
Yep. Yeah. So like you mentioned, in his yardage brackets from, so this is the entire 2026 season from approaches from 75 to 100 yards. He's 10th. From 100 to 125, he's 13th. From 50 in the overall bracket of 50 to 125 yards, he's 8th, which again, we're going to see 25, 30% of shots fall in that range. And even when it gets longer, he's 4th on approach from 175 to 200. So he's hitting the long iron as well too. It's playing right into what exactly the type of player that we are looking for here. And as you mentioned with the putter, it's what typically holds him back. He's 91st this year in strokes gained putting. He just happens to putt the best on this surface.
And that's to my ears.
Yeah, it's literally, if you look at kind of the putting surfaces on the rabbit hole over at BetSperts, it's like Bermuda loses strokes, Poana loses strokes, Poa Triv, pretty neutral. And then, as we mentioned, this is going to play very similar to bent grass. Get that man on bent grass and he gains over a stroke around. So this is like prime opportunity for Straka to get a win before the Masters. As we continue on the board, this guy, I've got a bone to pick with him. As we were talking about before the show in our one and done this past week, this was my pick. After the first round, he was 4 under, was like 7th, and then shot 6 over to miss the cut. But you can get him at 60-1 over on Bet365, and this guy is Marco Penge, and that is a number that I do very much like.
He's just too talented. I've been saying it about him all year. Early in this season, I look like an idiot because I'm telling everybody, this Marco Penge dude, look out. 3 wins on DP Tour, hits it as far as anybody you'll ever see, has a gorgeous golf swing. And he got off to a rough start, but been playing much better. Obviously, the second round, I don't know what that was, but that was not good. But other than that, he's been trending in the right direction. And when you're getting a guy that, again, if you're just telling me the 10 most talented golfers in this field, he's definitely one of the top 10. Like his, A game is better than probably arguably any, but maybe 2-3 guys in the field. Like I know that PGA watchers haven't really got to see that yet, but I'm telling you, I watched him on the DP World Tour last year. Dude's a freaking killer. And I think that's great odds, 60-1. I also like his prop odds this week. Like his top 5 and top 10 are very appealing.
Definitely. Yeah. Like you mentioned, he leads the PGA Tour in 2026 in strokes gained off the tee. That'll play. Yes, the total strokes gained haven't been great. The approach play hasn't been good. The putting's been bad, but we've seen how good he can be. He's adjusting to living in the U.S. for the first time. He talked about how he moved to Florida and couldn't get admission into any clubs down there. This is a guy who's from England, grew up in England, lived in England, and then now that he's on tour, moved to Florida. He's acclimating to playing in environments that he's never played in before. And we've seen what's possible when he puts everything together. We're, 4th at the Valspar. He was tied for 16th at the Genesis. Like the guy has the talent to play well on the PGA Tour.
Played in a lot of windy conditions over in Europe. So if like the wind blows, he's going to feel right at home.
Absolutely. And the putter is starting to come around. It's really going to come down to the irons. If he can hit his irons like he did at Valspar, where he came T4, he's got a chance to really surprise people. And again, it's 60-1. This is a number where we can have some fun.
Agree.
Speaking of fun, this guy's name, Sudarshan Yellamaraju. I think I'm still saying it right. Nobody's corrected me yet. We're going to continue to roll with it.
I'm going with Suter McGavin. I love it. You said it earlier, like helps my country bumpkin butt. So
I love it too. I don't remember. Got to give a shout out. I can't remember if it was Pat Mayo.
It was Pat Mayo.
It was Pat. Yep. So Pat kind of starting the Suter McGavin train. I love it. But I mean, I have been all over this guy all year. I hyped him up. His first really strong finish of the year was his first appearance in one of my articles. But he's just been, we talked about it. A ball striker who keeps it in play. And when the putter gets hot, watch out. This is a guy who finished T5 at the Players, T6 at Houston. Still, they refuse to give him good odds. Makes sense, right? He hasn't won on the PGA Tour. He's only 24 years old. Based on this picture, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Would have thought he was probably in his 30s like myself. But, it's just, this is a guy who knows how to play the game of golf. And it's going to come together for him at some point. And if I'm going to keep getting favorable odds to bet it, I am going to keep betting it. We're talking about a guy who, when you look at this field especially, just has the profile that we are looking for. He's 10th on approach, 9th in bogey avoidance, 6th in birdie or betters, putts well on this surface historically, from a 150 and in, a top 20 player, a great putter from 15 to 20 feet, which, as I mentioned, we're going to see a lot of this week. Leads this field over the last 24 rounds in good drives gained, 7th in the field in strokes gained total over the last 24. Again, this is just a player where everything is coming together at the right time. And this field, if any, is one that he absolutely could take home the win.
100%. I was all over him last week. A little gutted that he missed that top 5, or I'd have had all 3 legs last week. He was 13-1 to top 5, but I'm not bitter about it. And I keep saying this week after week. When you are, what is he, 16th in driving distance and 19th in strokes gained putting, that's a pretty deadly combination. No surprise. He's 14th on tour in strokes gained total.
Yeah.
And he's 66-1. This season, he is 14th, basically, in metrics. And I think he's a great play. I'm going to ride the train as long as I can. And, we were talking about it with Straka. From 1 to 125, he's 20th. From 50 to 125, he's 25th. From 125 to 150, he's 19th. And oh, by the way, again, if he lays back from over 200 yards, he's 2nd on tour. So just an elite iron player. And lefties have had a lot of success here. Yep. So that's another feather in his cap. I love him. He's my favorite play on DK this week. 8,100. He'll be in 100% of my cash lineups.
I hope I'm not in the same tournaments as you this week, because same.
Sorry, we can share.
All right, I'm down. Split winnings, yeah. I'll split your last week's winnings with you too. We'll get that
retroactively. Yeah,
we'll get that in the contract. Speaking of guys who are left-handed, who have won here before, we have back-to-back lefty winners. It's Brian Harman. I hate Brian Harman. I hate watching him play golf.
You don't like the waggles?
I have a finite amount of time on this earth, and I would prefer not to spend it watching Brian Harman waggle the golf club. But he's won here before. We know it's a predictive course. My model doesn't necessarily love him. He's 95th in the model this week, but he's accurate. He's good out of the sand. He's good when you get a short, a full wedge in his hand. Putts well from 20 to 25 feet. There's makings there. You may have to convince me to actually lay down the money here, Keith, but I fully understand the argument for him, especially at this predictive of a course.
Yeah, anytime, again, like what I was saying about Henley, Harman, sort of in the same vein. Anytime I hear or look at a golf course and think, well, somebody needs to be accurate off the tee, have the ability to scramble, make mid-range putts. That's Brian Harman. Like, that's what he does. He's made a career out of doing that. The best call I've had in the last probably decade was when he won the Open. Not only did I pick him, I literally said he was the guy that I predicted to win the event, because similar to this golf course, it was another course that it was so important to hit the fairways, avoid bogeys, avoid big numbers. And you're getting them at, again, what did you say, 70? I think I saw. So he's actually gone down because he was plus 7,500 literally this morning. I also love plus 520 to top 10 at a venue that he just won. And we actually saw him look really good at the Players. I think that was his last start. Like, sign me up, man.
Yeah. And, as I mentioned, especially with the modeling, right? I'm typically using last 24 rounds at this point in the year. And so, sure, his last 24 haven't been world-beating rounds by any means. Like you said, good finish at the Players. He's got a good finish this year at Pebble Beach as well. But I always like to look, especially at previous winners, kind of what their form was coming into the tournament to prove whether they were just on an otherworldly heater and just kept it going, or if it's just a course that fits their game. And when you look at him prior to his win here last year, T32 at the Cog, T40 at the Arnold Palmer, and then a missed cut at the Players, and then just showed up here and won the thing.
And he was like 100-1. It was great. I had him last year too. I mean, again, this is just one of those venues that anytime driving it straight is important. This guy is not only great at hitting fairways, he is elite at, again, we got all these trees overhanging. You can miss on the left on some of these holes, right? Yep. Not be in the fairway, but you're going to have a great angle without any tree trouble to the green. He's elite at doing that. Like, he always seems to lead the ball off the tee on the side you need to be, which on courses like this that you got big giant oak trees everywhere, it's really important.
Definitely. And I mean, Brian Harman, you know, I'd love to dog on him, right? The dude's a good golfer. He's a PGA Tour winner for a reason. And this is the type of event where, we've kind of proven anybody can win, right? Like we have five different names over the last 5 years. This is truly an event where, you know, this is an event we've seen Denny McCarthy shoot 20 under. Like it's possible for anybody to win this event. So why not Brian Harman this week? Or we can keep going down the odds board and say, why not Mac Meissner? And let me guess, hold on. This is your pick for the week, but let me see if I can make this argument for you, because I've talked about him more times than I care to count this year. He's a good ball striker. He can scramble. He doesn't put up big numbers. The putter can get hot. Did I make it?
It's pretty much. Yeah. He's also, there's a very small amount of players in this field who are above average and basically all the things you're looking at, which the big ones for me are, 9 players ranked top 40 in strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the greens, fairways gained, bogey avoidance. Most of these names not going to surprise you. Hideki, Fleetwood, Henley, Siwoo Kim, Oberg, Rio, Lucas Glover, Mac Messier. I mean, like that's huge, man. Like I love John Hallsborough. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. PGA tout.
Yep.
His article, totally recommend reading it. And that's one of my favorite things he does every week is he'll have like the 8 or 9 or however many guys that are above average or top 40 or whatever, you know, the cutoff is in the field. And I've had a lot of success lately taking the guy that doesn't really fit in that category, right? Because it's almost always the guys that are near the top of the odds board.
It's the guys right. A lot of the names you expect to see in the top 10
exactly.
list.
And but then there's always at least 1 or 2 that you're like, whoa, what's he doing on this list? I'm not afraid to, you know, make a few bets with him and throw him in some DFS lineups.
Yeah, I like it. You've got one. We've each got one more name. I will kick this over to you. Tell the people about SH Kim this week.
So this is kudos to my 2 off the tee co-host Scott Porter. He's the one that kind of got me on Kim a couple of weeks. I forget which venue he brought him up, but again, basically this is the Asian Brian Harman for all intents and purposes. Doesn't drive it really far, drives it really straight. Very good iron player, doesn't make a lot of bogeys. Like, I mean, is he probably going to win? No. But again, it's so difficult with these long shots to get anybody that's 100 to 1 anymore. And like him and Tom Hoge are the 2 guys that I really like that are over 100 to 1. And it's kind of similar games, right? Good iron players. And he's actually made some cuts here before. So he has experience on this golf course as well.
Yeah, he's got 2 top 15 finishes here. So it's not unfamiliar territory for him at all. I'm going to go even farther down the odds board. Let's go. This is a guy that I've talked about before on the show. Mike has talked about him on the show here. He's 10th in the model this week. Give me David Ford at 225 to 1.
Oh, big fan of Ford.
I mean, we've talked at length about what we're looking for this week. Ford, 9th in the field over all of these numbers over the last 24 rounds. 9th distance from edge of fairway. 8th strokes gained approach. 18th bogey avoidance. Top 35 in scrambling, birdies are better percentage, and strokes gained putting. 44th above average in overall proximity from 100 to 150, and top 20 in the field in strokes gained total over the last 24 rounds. At 225 to 1, I've spent $3 in worse ways. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm in on David Ford this week. If I'm going Tommy in my in DFS lineups, Ford is like my auto click. Like
he's the cheaper Thorbjornsen, another guy that hits it really far and really straight, which there's not a lot of guys on tour that do that. No,
and the guys who typically do are the names that you typically see. Where Ford, differs from a lot of the guys that we've talked about here. The performances this year haven't been awesome. Has had a good finish at the Amex, had a solid finish in Puerto Rico, is coming off of a couple missed cuts over his last few starts. Has never played this course before, but I don't care. Dude's 23. He's got to win at some
talented, point. Yep. Mm-hmm.
you can't win until you win. That's what it
Damn
boils
right.
down to. And it, again, 225 to 1. I've spent $3 in much worse ways in my life.
Can I give one more guy real quick?
Absolutely.
So Bronson Burgoon, who you're probably going, who the hell is this guy? Was not even supposed to be in the field last week, thanks to multiple withdrawals. I think he was like the 5th alternate. He got in, was playing well on the Corn Fair. This dude's 38 years old, just out there grinding. 3 top 20s to start a season on the Corn Ferry Tour. And thanks to a top 10 finish in Texas on a course with firm conditions, runoff around the greens, he's in the field this week. He was 5th in driving accuracy last week in the field, 2nd strokes gained putting, 4th in scrambling. And what I love more than anything, led the field with the least amount of bogeys with only 4. He's 6,600 on DK. I couldn't even find him for an outright on DK. I found him at plus 395 to top 20. That's going to be one of my favorite bets this week.
Yep. On DraftKings, he is 145 to 1.
Okay, so he was there because he was not on there earlier. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, awesome. He actually opened. I wish he got him when it opened. He was 240 to 1 at open.
So I think they must have taken him off when they were adjusting, because literally I couldn't find him for top 5 or winning. Top 10 couldn't find him. Top 20 you could find him down there. Like I said, he was at that time plus 395. I went ahead and took it.
Yeah, best book you can get him on right at this very moment. BetMGM does have him 225 to 1 right there with David Ford. So great call out there, Keith. And thank you so much for joining us this week. I know you're going to be on the show more frequently next week for our Masters show. It is going to be you, me, and Mike repping all 3 of us for Augusta, for the major that we are all looking forward to. But guys, that has been another week of the 19th hole. Keith, I know you do work at other places as well. So tell the people where they can find your work.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm excited to be, joining this show, even if it's, kind of a rotating deal. Always enjoy talking golf with you. You guys do great work at In Between Media. Seth actually helped me get my start in the fantasy spaces by connecting me with Fantasy and Frame. So always, much love. And I'm also the, first annual scramble winner from the Fantasy Football Expo.
Not going to be the second annual.
It was awesome. Well, come on, man. I'm ready. But no, you can find all my work pretty much on Twitter /X. It's just at Keith Flemming. But for Fantasy Six Pack each week, if you go to fantasysixpack.net, we do a show on Tuesday nights on their YouTube channel, 2 Off the Tee, where me and Scott Porter break down the event, give betting, DFS. But the big thing is I do a preview article, which is free each week on fantasysixpack.net. And then if you are an all-access member to Fantasy Six Pack, which with the promo code F6PDFS, it's $8.50 a month, you get access to our Discord. And then I do both a betting and DFS cheat sheet each week. If you played the plays off my DFS cheat sheet last week, you would have had a good week because I know I did. So I have not hit an outright winner this year, and it's really ticking me off. Even though I did have David Lipsky at 29 to 1 to top 5 2 weeks ago, which was higher odds than Matt Fitzpatrick. So I'm kind of counting that as like a mini win.
Yeah.
But I really want to get an outright winner because this is, I think, the deepest we've gotten to a season without finding one. So hopefully this is the week, but I'm super pumped about being here. You do great work, Jake, and I just enjoy talking golf with you. So I'm excited about, doing this moving forward.
Yes, sir. We are very, very happy to have you in the family over here at In Between Media and the 19th hole. But guys, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the work, check out my work, check out Keith's work. But we will see you all for our next tee time. Later.